So, I mean, obviously, we want to hear about your journey with this community that you've created, and your relationship with one another and the ocean. And in our previous conversation last week, it was very evident how close knit you all are, and this thing that you created, how important it is to you.
Yes.
So can you kind of start by just kind of walking us through how this started? How it came to be out of nothing. You created this beautiful thing. So can you walk us through that?
Please.
Sharon, you start.
Nancy and I first started walking on the beach a few years ago, probably close to 8 years ago now. And it evolved into swimming. One of the beach patrol gentlemen, his kids and my kids were in junior lifeguard camp together. And I saw him swimming out beyond the break one day. I had never seen anybody out that far before. And he was wearing really short fins. And I asked him about it when he came out of the water, and he's like, yeah, you can go out there. And I said, well, Nancy and I have been walking, and we kind of play in the waves afterwards sometimes, but I would be terrified to go past the break. And he said, well, come with me and I'll show you what it's like. So I trusted him because I know he's been on the job for years, and I know his kids could swim and my kids could swim with his kids and all that stuff. So I went out with him without fins on to try it. It was terrifying, but again, I trusted him, in case anything happens kind of thing. Got fins of my own eventually. Nancy got fins of her own, and we took it on, and we went out. Probably for the longest time, we'd stay in the break, and you're getting, waves crashing on you one after another. So it's not ideal to get any kind of yardage in if you're trying to, but it was a lot of fun. Nice. And that was back of my mind, there's all kinds of things in the water that you might need to escape from. So
yes.
So we swam a little while, just Sharon and I, without the fins, and really at times that we probably shouldn't have, but it was we're novices in the ocean. We were both swimmers, but the ocean swims were really very new to us. So we learned a little each year, and got better gear, got the better fins, got ourselves out beyond the break. And that's when you once you're past those rolling things, you're on that nice flat water normally, and you can really move. And then a lot of times, some of the group that started coming with us were people that I went to exercise classes with. There's a girl in particular who was in front of me all the time in a powerlifting class, and I thought, she's just so neat, and I started talking to her, and she turned out to be one of our regular swimmers. And then at least 3 people came from that class, because somebody would hear us talking and they would say, you swim in the ocean? Like, are you crazy? I'm like, no, you should really come. So we recruited quite a few from there. But these 2 are my favorite story, because Sharon recruited Jeannie.
How?
Oh, yeah.
How were you recruited, Jeannie?
She picked me up in a coffee shop.
Nice.
Funny, because I'm so shy, and she was with someone that I knew. So it made her like not stranger danger. So I was like, okay, I can talk to her. She's with someone I know. And she was talking about ocean swimming, and I had seen them before. And she invited me, and I thought, I'm going to do this. But I drove by secretly for, what did I tell you guys, like a month or something before I went. I'd by in the morning, and I'd pull in the parking lot, and they're like 200 yards out where the boats are. And I'd say, okay. And I'd go back home. I'd drive by on the way to work the next day, and I'd wash, and I'm like, they're crazy out there.
I would do the same.
And then, so it was at least a few weeks before I finally showed up and got in the water, because I just wanted to know what I was getting into before I did. And it's been, ever since, we just all kind of melted together. It's really strange for grown women to go out and make this pool of friends at our age, and be so in sync with each other, and so it's just effortless to be with each other. In and out of the water. So it really is one of the best parts of my life, I can say honestly.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And at this point in our life, because prior to this, you meet people where you work, through children, through events. And this was really just picking people up on the beach.
Pretty much.
We would be coming out of the water, particularly more in the winter time, even that people, Linda in particular, who does not live here anymore, but she found us. We were coming out of the water one day, and this woman was approaching us, and she's like, I would like to swim with you. She had the most fantastic accent. She said, I would like to swim with you. She was great. And she was far better swimmer than all of us. She's a triathlete, really. And she was lovely. And now she lives in California. But she was great.
I hope she's
But
great.
you have to understand, the reason that we attract more attention in the winter time is because it's the winter time.
Yeah.
So we're coming sloughing out of the ocean, while it's freezing out in wetsuits, and we look like, what was that movie where the people come marching out with tanks and everything else and just appear, and people on the shore are going, you're crazy.
Yeah.
So it's people definitely stop and notice, and all have something to say when we're geared up for winter swimming. And we're so far out that they don't notice us until we've come into, the 100 feet or 200 feet. So it's like we magically appear out of nowhere.
Right.
And, and they're like, who are these crazy people, and where did they come from?
I can imagine, like, you guys just hopped off of like a cruise ship and just
It's like
emerged from the water.
We were born of the ocean.
Right.
People actually have asked us, they've seen a boat. They're like, did you swim from that boat? We're like, no. It would be something way, way far out. I'm like, no, we didn't swim that far. But there was a girl just recently who, everybody in the winter, we have like thermal caps, but they're all brightly colored, pink and blue and green. And, it's great. And she thought, what did she tell you, Sharon? She thought she saw like balls or something. She's
balloons or something. Yeah.
There's something floating out there in the water.
I thought we were buoys. Like
buoys is bobbing up on the water. That's a great image.
Yeah, I know. That's also amazing because, especially with what's going on right now, I mean, you when you started, you didn't know that the COVID and all this pandemic and quarantine for a whole year and a half is going to be happening. And then a lot of people going through, not knowing what to do with their lives when you stay indoors. But then you have this activity that allows you to kind of have a fresh air, like, I don't know, like, it's already the ocean. It's so it's incredible that you found that, like, you've already had that in a way, like,
it's a wonderful outlet. Definitely.
Yeah.
Just feel normal during abnormal circumstances. I recall that one day or 2 days they had the beaches closed, and we went anyway. There was no one on the beach. I think that one morning that Aurora was leaving to go back to Houston, she had to leave to be with her family during the COVID pandemic. And they wanted her home, and we suited up, and we didn't have fins that morning, but we put a wetsuit on. I think it was April, and she was all gung-ho to go into this crazy break. There was the waves were huge, and I grabbed her by the arm and I said, look at me, there's no one on the beach today, no one. So when I tell you to wait, don't go in any further, because this will carry us away. She was so excited, she didn't have that concept. And I looked around and there was no one on the beach, not one person, no one walking, no lifeguards, no cars, nothing.
Because it was closed.
Yeah, right.
How did you feel? I cannot imagine being at the ocean, like, quiet. It was probably dead quiet. How did you feel?
It was eerie. It was the eeriest feeling ever. I mean, there's almost no time that I've ever been to the beach where you don't see one person, or
Wasn't it, Sharon? Wasn't it also almost like the day of the photo shoot that it was foggy that day too?
Yeah.
Hazy. It was a pretty hazy day and big waves.
It was still dark out, and it was a stormy kind of day. And I just remember there was no parking even. They had closed the park. There was no place to park. And
I really didn't want you guys going to the beach.
We have to go because it's our last day. At least we have to get wet,
Yeah.
But once you got in the water, man, you get supercharged and you want to take off, and it's so dangerous if you're not ready. Yeah. And I said, well, we'll get you wet and get out.
I think Aurora was our youngest swimmer.
Yes.
She was
Yeah.
our youngest. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to add was the age range. One of the gals that met me in the water, I swam one day from a different approach on a Sunday with friends, and I just said, "Hey, I'm going to pop my fins on. I'm going to go for a swim. I'll be gone for an hour. I'll be back."
Mhm.
And I met up with Stephanie at another approach. She was on a surfboard. She wasn't a swimmer, but she was a surfer. And she said, "I've seen you girls out here and I didn't know what you were all about. You move so quickly through the water." And I said, "Well, we wear fins." And she goes, I want to join you, but I can't swim." So she got fins and she wore her surfboard on a leash on her ankle for 3 months until she got to become a better swimmer.
Wow.
And so yeah, the age range, even my daughters swam with us a few times, and they were in their teens when they started, but
oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh.
wide range of ages, ladies swimming together. So that's really cool too.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Dynamic.
I think that was something I wanted to ask before, but it was after that conversation. I was like, oh, I wonder how, the age
Yeah.
range, which you just, brought up.
Who's the oldest?
Tied, I think. I think we have a 3-way tie at people who are 68.
Oh, wow.
68?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple 60, a couple 67, a couple 68. I think most of our folks are easily over 55.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they still go all the way. Do
Oh,
they?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Something, because I'm terrified of the ocean. I can watch your clothes once everybody else is in there, but I'm not gonna pass the.
Past the
Those
break.
waves.
Past the- that's the wall.
Come
That's
with
the,
us, Didine.
Because my fear is not knowing what's under.
yeah.
Do you have that fear? Oh, it's already gone. If there's anything that's gonna come, because it's deep, like you can't step. You can once you're all the way in far, you cannot stand on
You're at
anything.
the mercy. You're at the mercy of
You know?
whatever the elements,
Yeah. So
You are. And it takes a while to get used to that. I think that's why I did so many drive-bys before I actually started. And we've had some unusual sightings. I mean, we're out there with the wildlife. So we've swam with dolphins, and we had a sea turtle come up and greet us one day, and we bailed when we've seen too many sharks that are close.
yeah.
And we kind of keep in touch with each other and keep close. And the excitement and the amazingness of it all just outweighs anything else. And we know that we all have each other's backs. We're all paying attention and watching and aware of what's going on. So, but it is, we saw the rocket launch one day from
Oh yeah.
however many out. So it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it sounds like a great experience.
A lot of times we won't, real quickly, a lot of times we won't even realize, and we'll get back to shore and people will say, "Oh my gosh, the dolphin swam all the way with you guys." So sometimes we're not even aware, and other people tell us, which is pretty cool. It's like, oh, they were watching over us.
It's this magnetism.
Yeah.
You all have manifested this magical.
Incredible community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That brings me back really quick about my own experience swimming in the ocean. I do share Didine's
Fear.
apprehension to swimming in the ocean. I was in Hawaii with my family in my teens, and my older cousin was a bit of a daredevil. He did gymnastics. He's very comfortable doing flips off of high objects, high altitudes. And I followed suit. I was like, okay, if he can do that, I can do that. So we jumped off this cliff like 50 feet up into the ocean. And that in and of itself was terrifying. But what was challenging for me was the swim back to shore. I didn't realize how strong the pull of the current can be, and how you would expect it to be like just an easy swim back, like you were in a pool, but you really have to fight almost to to break through these waves. And that's when I sort of realized the power of the ocean, and you kind of have to like I said before, just kind of be at the mercy and kind of just you put yourself in that situation, and now you're now you're there. But it definitely sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it changes constantly.
Yeah.
So what you experience one day, it is not there the next. We just got out yesterday, getting out of the water for our daily plunge, and the undertow was so strong, and we're all very accustomed to it, and but it was very, very strong, and you can just see how different accidents and stuff happen.
Oh,
Because, it could be bad.
You guys can
Yeah.
never be out of shape, you know? Because
A lot of it is about paying attention, being familiar with, because you can look at the ocean if you're not from here and not realize that there's a shelf and a break. And there are different areas that will pretty much just suck you out to sea. So, you know, being familiar with our surroundings because we're swimming so often has come in really handy. But then also Sharon is like the master of apps. So she'll check seaweed and windy and all kinds of apps. And so we have a pretty good idea when it's questionable of what's going on before we get there.
They have apps to like
They have apps. Oh yeah.
Really? I mean, like you can check to see when like there's seaweed. Is that what you?
There's Magic Seaweed is one of them that Nancy's been using. I started using Windy. A friend showed me this. He's a fisherman, and a surfer that I know uses it as well. And it gives you like 4 or 5 readings, different readings that are being reported. You know, one of them is a NOAA reading and so forth. And so you get a variety of different answers about water temp and air temp and wind direction. But I originally started posting it to show how strong or how little wind there would be and what would be an ideal time to go. So that became part of our communication with each other is, well, we probably don't want to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but Friday looks really good. Or something like that. Yeah, the apps have helped a lot. Like I said, when Nancy and I first started going in, we went into everything and we didn't know what we were into until we were in it. And it was challenging and stupid too at times, very stupid, but here we are.
And do you remember there was the one day, I don't remember Sharon if you were there, but just based on, there were a number of us going in the water. I think it was Jeannie and Bonnie and I in one particular spot, and just down to our right a little bit were 2 other of our swimmers going in. We were in a spot that we never made it out past the break. And those 2 were just gone. They made it past, and it was the difference in the bottom of the ledge right there. And we weren't thinking like just back out of the water and move down a little. No, we just kept plugging away trying to get through that.
Yeah. The topography plays a big part on what we're dealing with. You know, you have your footing. I met a gal who swims further north by Matanzas Inlet where Marineland is. And she has a swim partner there, and they never want to leave that area because she knows the topography. She knows what she's stepping on, where it's going to slope, where it's going to dip down, if it's going to be level, if it's going to be potholey, you know, that kind of stuff. And like today when we got out, we went up to Neptune and it was very potholey, kept coming out.
And we, even on those times, we have to think, because we've just been doing the plunges right now because the waves and stuff are so intense that we haven't been able to go past the break to swim. So we just go for our daily plunge, which is great. But we tend to run down the beach because it's fun. You're crazy. You run down the beach and you go to run in the water. And Sharon caught me, I think even yesterday. She's like, be careful, because it was, if you were running hard and step wrong and there's a divot or whatever, you're going to get hurt. And it's just something to remember, for me to remember. It's like, you don't want a full charge, just like always try and pay attention a little.
Right. Yeah, that's you definitely need a sense of awareness in the ocean, on the beach in general. But pivoting a little bit, you all, I think you all said maybe Nancy and Sharon, you said 8 years you've been doing this, right?
Yes.
Or that's how long?
Yeah.
Right, 8 years. And then you also said something beautifully. We wrote it down. I'm looking at the notes over here. You said that the salt water is healing for you. What is it about? 'Cause I think I have my own suspicions as to what you say, but what is it about the ocean, the waves, that's so therapeutic, that is so healing? And then, of course, it's led to a small community. What is it about it?
It's just, it clears your mind. You know, you might walk in there with like the day's heaviness, something going on with family or another friend or something at work, just something you can't shake, or a conversation that you had that didn't go the way you wanted. And so many times we've gone out there and just, we always say we're going to put it out there, just leave it.
Leave it in the
leave it in the ocean, because the ocean's so vast, it can handle it, and get it off your shoulders and out of your mind. And I think the thing that we're finding with these plunges that we're doing right now in the cold water with the cold wind is it just leaves your head empty and kind of relieved. I know something like that. Nancy has words about that too.
Yeah, it was just every day with this cold plunge. We stand around sometimes at the cars afterwards. We're standing there and there's not a thought in my head. It really is empty in the best sense of those words. Not being empty-headed or anything silly, but just it has taken everything away. You feel peaceful, relaxed, calm. There's other smiling faces there. It's the water around you. We're all water people. Everybody's always been a water person, and whether, I don't like chlorinated water, but you do what you have to when you don't have the ocean.
Right.
But we all are water people.
Well, and it's nature. I mean, it's always there, and it's different every day, but it's the same every day. And it's salty and miraculous and beautiful. And it's a living thing. It really is. And it supports this whole other environment. And I don't know if people understand how truly amazing that body of water is. You drive by it, you look at it, you say it's pretty, but to be in it and a part of it and to connect with it is just this ultimate experience. It really is.
Yes, yeah, and that's something. I don't mean
No.
It's exciting for me because I grew up in Texas. I didn't grow up around water, but I have felt that connection to something that is always in motion. The ocean, and it's a kinetic sort of tangible thing. And like you were just saying, Jeannie, like it's different when you walk by it, you drive by it. Because we're lucky enough to live in Los Angeles, we do see it, but not often do we jump in it and engage with it. And then once you do that, I feel there's a totally different relationship that you then have with it. Absolutely. And maybe in nature, like you were saying as well. So yeah, I think there's something very beautiful, very spiritual about it, if I may say that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I used to be petrified to fly. I was just so afraid of it because I didn't have control. Yeah. And I've always lived on the coast. So I started this, I'm going to go put my feet in the water and I'd stand at the ocean. I even did this. In fact, they met me at the beach. There was a hurricane or a big storm, and I was flying out the next day, and I was like, I got to go get in the water before I fly. So we went down and we all swam and bobbed around, and it was crazy. But I put my feet in the water here, and then wherever I go, when I get there, the first thing I do is find a body of water and put my feet in the water there, because I feel like that way I've connected myself to the world with these bodies of water. And then when I get home, first thing is trucking down to the beach again to get my toes in the water. So it's, I've even found ways to use it as, it's like, okay, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to fly, and I'm going to put my feet in the water here, and then I'm going to put my feet in the water there. So,
a grounding experience.
Yeah, it is. I wonder, Jenny, you mentioned how shy you were and how, now you have this whole community and you're interacting with them, you're connecting with nature. Most shy people are really good at connecting with nature, and because it's their space. Do you feel like there is something that has changed in you, or things that you've learned since you have connected with all these women, since you started, swimming and knowing more people?
So much. It's been so nice to grow into and with a group of women, and we have deep conversations about deeply personal things that I never thought I would share with other people. And I don't know if it's that we know that we have each other's backs in the water and we watch over each other, and that has come to shore with us, and we have coffee afterwards and talk, or if it's the reverse. But we are all just, you spend your life feeling outside, and then all of a sudden you meet this group of people, and you're all inside, and it's like, wait a second, this can't be so. And we've sat at the beach before and said, there's no way this is like, this just doesn't happen. We're so lucky. So even years later, there's never a time that we get together that we don't know and that we're not hyper aware of how unusual this is, and in how many different directions it goes, even to the point that, the photographer, your guy, saw us and was like, wow, it's starting to radiate out from us now. It's not just us that are going, whoa, this is really cool. It's like, other people are going, wow, that's really kind of cool. So there's a real comfort in knowing that you've found your tribe, I guess.
And I think, this is not competitive. There's no competitive swimming. No. We swim, we've practiced together. We've helped people with their, to get a little better, but there's no competition in the water. And I think that, like Jeannie said, that carries out too. It's all support. There's no competition. People, different parts of the group get together at different times, and sometimes we're all together. And COVID really put a damper on the party type things.
Oh, yeah. The party. We never mentioned any of that. We have birthday parties, or pick a day. We bring coffee and food, and we've had my favorite was in the parking lot. We'd throw down, we'd take a parking space and put down blankets and, do a swap. We trade our clothes or stuff from the house. I mean, tons of stuff. Yeah. We haven't done that in a while.
Oh, yeah.
In a year, we've, been close. And that's another thing, is that we all get together, but we are all still very aware of maintaining our distance and keeping track of, where we're going, and we're not bringing anything into the group. We're aware of other people in the group that have partners that are compromised. So we're very aware of being safe about that too. And the water, is a great cleansing barrier. So we separate by 6 feet and off we go.
Oh, you're still practicing social distancing, and it's almost like your own bubble.
Yes.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
And we know, if I have work and I have a lot of students in, or I get a bulletin that somebody's been sick, I stay away from the group for that 14 days, and it's an honor system, but we've all been very, very, it's so nice to have a group that is aware of protecting you even when we're away from each other, so that when we come together.
Very respectful. There are a few in the group that have new grandchildren, new grandbabies, first time and stuff like that. And so everybody we make sure we're giving her in particular all the space she needs. And that's how everybody is about it,
That's incredible. So it's
I can't wait until we can hug again, though. I had a year without a hug, and I just really got the hang of hugging because I just met this group. I'm like, come on,
Right.
I haven't had a hug in a year. So
I know. I heard that.
It'll be nice when we can be in a space together with each other, and go out to eat and share and be close. That'll be nice.
I used to hear that 10 hugs a day is the key to happiness. So now I'm like, nobody has that in the world right now.
Oh, and that takes that.
We're way behind on that.
I know. So we can't wait for this thing to be over and just, catch up on it. Yeah. I loved the party part though, and the grandchildren and the families, and you swim with sometimes with your children. It's also, it's not a lonely place, because you all have families, you have work, and then you have this other, community you've created, and your kids probably know each other, and so it's a whole. I think because in America, what I've realized, I guess maybe developed countries, the more developed the country, the lonelier it gets for people. I don't know if that. We forget about how important it is for us to connect and with with other people, which brings us joy. So I'm so happy that
and I think Dean and I were just having a conversation with someone the other day about kind of how the pandemic has forced us to remember what's really important, and that's the connection, the community that you have. Not so much the the little things like the technology that comes and goes, the money comes and goes, but the real connections and relationships you have with people. That's the real things that helps us just to keep on going, what we live for. And like you were just saying, Dean, about it feels generational because there are this age span, your daughters, that can be something that's passed on from generation to generation in some form. And I don't know, it's a beautiful thing. You created something real, something very, very real, and so simple as well.
And it seems as though maybe we were all open to it. Just kind of came to us. We've been finding that about the beach, that things come to us. Sharon's lived other places, Jeannie's lived other places, I have a few friends here and there, but nothing has ever come together like what has come together here. It's very interesting. It's easy. Conversations are easy. I don't know if it has to do with the exercise part of it, or it's just the group dynamics. They're very, very special women.
There's a chemistry there that can't be explained. It's very organic, and I have friends who I've swum with other places. My college roommate lives in California. She's in Ventura, and she's come here and she's met the group, and she's like, you have something that nobody I know has.
Kathy, she was great. She kept looking. She was looking for the ocean on the wrong side.
Yeah, that was funny. And I got out in her ocean when I went out there 2 years ago, and she has a saltwater pool too, a community pool that is just lovely.
Yeah,
close to the beach there. That was awesome. But yeah, so people come. We had Linda Kay that moved to California. Speaking of the coffee shop, Tammy was one that I met in the coffee shop. She was friends with a mutual friend, and I heard about you girls. I'm supposed to ask you, who are you, Sharon? Yeah. Well, Kathy told me to find the group, the Ormond Mermaids. Okay, so we got her swimming with us, and she's kind of a part-time in there and out of there.
And there have actually even been a couple of guys, because there was one young man from Embry-Riddle. What was his name?
Vin
came because he actually wanted to swim down in Tampa Bay. He wanted to do an event, which they wouldn't let him into anyway, but he wanted to come to better himself in swimming. So he swam with us for a while. And then from Canada, right? Jim
from Canada. Yeah. With his gym cap. He had a really nice fleece lined cap with the really thick black neoprene and a strap, so you could hang out in the water all day and never get cold.
Wait,
it reminds me of that story you told us about the cowboy guy.
Yeah, the cowboy, the cowboy from Texas.
Oh, that was great. Okay, yeah. So that was when we were still swimming at the different approach before we moved up to the park, which was a grand improvement, having the facilities there. So we were at the Cardinal approach where the lifeguard tower is. And this gentleman was staying in the condominiums right next to the approach. And he's wearing a big 10-gallon hat, and he's got tattoos and Texas t-shirt on, and he's walking with a cane. He says, I saw you ladies yesterday. There was 6 of you today, but there was 5 of you yesterday. And he goes, I just have to say, you ladies are badass. And I love that. I was like, I like to use that line on anybody who will listen. Yep, we've been told we're badass, so look out.
I think you are, especially earlier I mentioned it, but I realized nobody heard. But I was saying that none of you is ever gonna get out of shape. Like, you're swimming every day, and I heard how Alex said how hard it is. And I'm thinking you guys get up excited to go do that workout. A lot of people are, you will prefer to sit on the couch and watch a Netflix show. Some people,
or documentaries about
about the ocean.
It certainly is becoming a thing where you you feel like you're missing. If you're not at the ocean, oh, I haven't been in the water today. You can feel it. It's like, I need to, we were like that today when we went down to, it's like, I need this. I need to get in the water. And then you're in the water and everything's good. It's like, okay.
So from the three of you, what are individually or maybe it's a shared experience, but the three most interesting or experiences, the most enlightening experiences of doing this, of the swimming, of being in the ocean? Whoever wants to start.
All right. Well, one of my very favorite moments was, I think it was right before Jeannie was going to travel. And I think that was the day the waves were really, really big and we didn't belong out in them, but we really had gotten so good at that point and we're confident. We had our fins on. We swam out. We were just letting the water and it was taking us way up and way down. And that's the day that the lifeguard, after he was off duty, just swam out to us just to say, you guys okay out here? We're like, yeah, we're good. And it was just so beautiful. I don't even think we did a lot of swimming that day. We just enjoyed the lift. It was beautiful. So that's one of my favorite moments.
One of my favorite days, we went out for a sunrise swim for Nancy's birthday, and we didn't say anything to her in the parking lot about it being her birthday. And I said to Jeannie, when we get out there, we have to sing to her.
Aww.
And as the sun was coming up out of the water, which is another amazing moment anytime you're out there for that. And I haven't been out for too many of them, but that was just tremendous. We sang happy birthday to her.
It was great.
In the water.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, I bet.
I
And then the
just,
sharks came. Sorry.
yes. And it's funny
Whoa.
because-
Wow, the stars.
Yeah. It's like, party's over. Sure. I was amazed by the rocket launch and feeling the sonic boom in the ocean. And I think that day we had everything. I think we saw the sunrise because the launch was early. We had dolphin. It was a great group of people, and it was just, it sounds like it's made up. You know what I mean? It's so crazy to think that this is possible, that we can, meander down. And we forgot about the rocket launch, and all of a sudden we stopped. So we'll swim and then we'll stop and just check and make sure everybody is close and everybody's fine. And as we did, we saw the streak of the rocket coming over. So we watched it, and then we felt the sonic boom. And I think we might have had sharks that we bolted out of that day as well. But it's amazing. I mean, it's like, this is like our backyard, It's just so cool that we could be in this space together, and have all these amazing things happen.
And truly, for all of the times that we've been swimming, we've done a lot of swimming over the years, and a lot of times we're out there. There's very few times that we both Very few. We seem to have talked about it a lot, but I'll bet it's only 3 times.
Yeah.
I can most.
Yeah. That's also,
it's not common. It really isn't.
That's good.
Also,
Yeah.
I heard a few times that you guys were mentioning about somebody about to leave and then going to the ocean first. Is that a thing when you guys are about to travel somewhere and then you're not going to have an opportunity to do this? You do it before you leave?
Yeah, I do, for sure.
Yeah.
I have my little ritual that I always have to be in the water, the day before or the day that I travel. So for me, that's the thing. But I think that we're all always so, like, if we know we're going away, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be in the water for like 2 weeks. What am I going to do? And so we try to stock up,
If I'm not mistaken, Sharon, I think you actually swam the day that you flew one time. I thought you came, swam in the morning, and then got on a plane that afternoon.
Wow.
Yes, I have.
You have to. It's like it's like a prayer almost. It seems it's like a matter of fact thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's and it's funny because we've been doing these plunges, and I always do this little gratitude practice when I get to the beach. And so, yeah, it is. It's every single time it's an experience.
Speaking of prayers, this all kind of started, I was going through a divorce. And so some of those times when we'd go out there, especially when we were brand new to going outside the break, I would always ask the universe to send me home whole in one piece for my children because they needed me.
Yeah.
And it was a mantra that I said every time I went out there because I thought, there's
that's
no
right.
reason to lose a limb.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. Sometimes we go through hardships and we don't know what to hold on to keep us alive, like so much emotionally, growing up for me was going to church, and I was a church girl, and I am a survivor of the Rwandan genocide. So the surviving afterwards was horrible. But I found the singing and the writing, what I felt, I didn't know it was helping, but for some reason it helped me release all those things, and singing in the choir, knowing what I'm feeling, but just crying about the song, but really I'm just crying about what's going on in my own life. So it's always, amazing to find those things that can keep you sane. I would say. Yeah. I was going to ask. Yes.
Little healing practices.
Yeah. Finding those, more those healing practices. I was going to ask. This month is a women. Sorry, Alex. It's Women's History Month.
Nothing to apologize for.
And it's I mean, the whole year's ours, but this one's a special one. It's a special one. I was going to ask you guys if you have a message to young women, young girls all over the world who have not found things to hold on to, like what you have found, or community or friends, or all over the world, or young boys. What would you like to share?
I'll tell you what I've always told my daughter, because she does seem to struggle in her relationships with girlfriends. And I told her, I said, good girlfriends take a long time to find, but they're so worth waiting for. And because I always felt that way. I always felt kind of alone when I was younger, maybe different, maybe a tomboy, just not like everybody else. And sometimes, she grew up with a brother, and she was always more the tomboy herself. And she just gets frustrated with her friends, her girlfriends. She's like, I just communicate so much better with boys. I'm like, well, I'm just going to tell you from my own experience, they're worth waiting for. They'll come, and they're so worth waiting for. And now I have all these girls, women, they're wonderful. And it's heartwarming every day.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
I always tell my daughters, do what makes you happy. I think when I was growing up, I tried to make other people happy, my parents specifically. And, some of that worked for me and some of it worked for them as well. But I said, choose something that you really like, and it could be your career or something that's important in life, but do what makes you happy, because then all of the rest will fall in place after that. And I think that's kind of my mantra. So
wonderful.
Do be open to things, while maintaining, self-preservation and being wise. Be open to things, but don't second guess your intuition. And it's funny because, like I say, I've always been shy and I have huge stranger danger, and Nancy always laughs about it with me. So Sharon will talk to anybody. She's the person that brings everybody new in, right? Because Nancy and I are hiding at the car going, yeah, that could be like a terrorist, or we're like super cautious, which is why it's taken me probably so long to find this group of women. And also because they are just also unusual. And I think we are all a little bit tomboy. We all grew up, playing in the woods and building things, and being just a little different than the other girls probably. But I watch, there are different things that I learned from everyone in our group, and from Sharon for sure. It's she's just so good at initiating friendships and conversations. Another person that we swim with is just always working from, her perspective is always bliss. So she breaks down on the highway and someone offers her a ride, and off she goes giggling all the way. And I'm like, I would be chopped into 1,000 pieces in somebody's trunk if I did that. But so from her, it's like, okay, you can't always be so cautious. And so I think we all, you know, when you meet the right people, it's just like any other relationship, you'll know it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it should just happen organically. It shouldn't be forced, and you shouldn't be bending or flexing. It should just be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so crazy unusual about this group. It's just so nice to just be.
It is.
And we have said that before, that it's just, this has grown organically, and it's been, we just melt together, all of us. Everybody brings a little something different to the table, but it's a beautiful blend.
It is.
And very comfortable.
Yeah.
We're very lucky.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And
Yes.
I
And you also radiated too. Like,
yes. It's
We plunged.
That's right.
It's always, just so you know, Jeannie's always radiant. It doesn't matter if she plunged or not. She'll be more radiant later, but she's already radiant. So.
Always.
Fun shooting out of my head. Not like trying to block it.
Don't hide it. Don't hide the inner light.
yeah.
But that's a beautiful thing, and that's something that I wish everybody could find in some capacity. This sense of being in line with yourself, with other people.
Yeah.
It's a whole process just to try to find yourself. You know, some people can do that within 30 years. Some people do that within 70 years, you know, but we all have our own journeys, our own paths to take.
Absolutely.
But it seems like you all, and I'm sure by extension, the other people who we don't have the pleasure of talking to in your group, they feel this sense of alignment with themselves, with you all as well. And I just wish people can feel this.
Yeah.
This is why we want to hear these stories. Why we want to hold space for such a beautiful thing. Because, like we said before, it is so simple, and we tend to overcomplicate things in life, and we second guess. And I forgot who said it. It may have been you, Jeannie, about trust your intuition.
Yeah.
And my dad always tells me, keep it simple, stupid. Is that KISS? Is that the acronym?
Yes.
Yeah, keep it simple, stupid. And the older you get, the deeper that meaning kind of resonates with you. Or maybe, you know, that's for a lot of people anyway. But yeah, I don't know. It's very palpable. It's very evident how enriching this experience has been for you all. And we haven't even seen you all swim. We haven't even been there to meet you all. But
we just saw the pictures, but you guys didn't swim. We were just modeling and.
And that spirit, that happiness shines through.
I know.
And we're very, very happy, very blessed to be able to listen to your story.
Absolutely.
And you know.
Well, thank you for listening to us too.
Yeah.
Of
been great
course.
to tell
Thank
it.
you.
Of
Thank you so
course.
much. I'm now going to try and put my feet in the ocean.
Baby steps.
Do it.
Baby steps.
Toes, just your toes. We used
Just
to
my
say,
toes.
We would meet in the morning, and so we'd say in the parking lot by 7, toes in by 7:30. So just do the toes in part. Just start with your. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll definitely try. Why not? We live once. I mean, that's the one we remember. So I should try a lot of the new things.
Yes.
Yeah, but absolutely.